First of all, thanks for being here. You could choose this time to be in the pub. It's been a long week. I'm sure you guys are exhausted. And last thing you want to know about is patching and maintaining configuration and systems. So I really appreciate that you guys are here, spending this time with me. So I'm Adnan Ijaz. I'm a product manager on EC2 team, Amazon EC2 team. Today we're going to talk about Amazon EC2 Systems Manager, a new management service that simplifies the management of cloud and hybrid workloads. We announced it this morning. So we're going to go into, we'll cover the overview in this session. So what can you expect from this session? This is a high-level session. We'll go through all the capabilities. What are the capabilities? Hopefully, along the way, you would learn how these capabilities can help you, manage your cloud and hybrid environments. And then I'll do a walkthrough demo. We won't go very deep because, unfortunately, we don't have enough time. But I do have a pointer towards the end of my slide deck for 2 breakout sessions. One is happening now, but there is a repeat tomorrow. So there are 2 sessions, both scheduled for tomorrow. Both at level 400, they would go into, they would do a deep dive into what are the capabilities, how you really go into the detail. My goal for this session is to prepare you for those 2 sessions so that when you walk into those sessions, you know what it is and what are we talking about. All right. I'm sure you guys have heard it in one way or another. Cloud is the new normal. Enterprises of all sizes, small, medium, big, everyone is leveraging cloud to take advantage of the agility, reduce cost, and global reach. And we don't know any industry segment, at least I haven't seen any, which is not leveraging cloud. You name it, financial segment, healthcare, government, everybody is leveraging cloud, to take advantage of the agility. As the enterprises start moving to the cloud, we see 2 things. First of all, it's a journey for them. Some of the workloads are running on premises, some are in the cloud. So they need to manage both. They are in this hybrid setting. They might be just managing cloud workloads. But we have seen the tendency that many enterprises bring their traditional IT tool set to manage these environments, mostly hybrid environments. And as we talk to customers, we have learned that using the existing traditional tool set to manage these cloud and hybrid environments, it's complex and it's costly. It's just hard. And why is that so? This tool set that you guys have been using for years now, it's not built for the cloud. It was built for the on-premises world where you would have to go through a months or weeks-long procurement cycle before you get new servers, so you know what you're doing. You can plan ahead. But with cloud, that changes. With a click of a button, you can get thousands of VMs or servers. So how do you manage that? So how do you handle that scale? The existing tool set is not built and designed for that scale. So that's issue number 1. Then, if you're running workloads, some workloads are on premises, some are in the cloud. How do you make sure that you have visibility across your entire enterprise fleet? You know which software is running. You can keep a tab on licensing, agreements, things like those. So that's a challenge too. And then for each management function, you need an application, right? You might be using one product for patching, another one for storing secrets, and then you are managing like half a dozen or a dozen different applications, deploying them, maintaining those, patching those applications. So that's a challenge. And the last but not least is if you are able to figure out how the licensing works for these tools in the cloud, then you would find out it's very costly. So that's another thing that we heard from you, and I'm pretty sure, like looking at you guys, it seems like everybody, is in complete agreement that, these are the challenges that you guys face today. So we took this data and we sat down and we discussed how do we fix or address this problem in a way that is built on the modern cloud principles, but yet, allows you to manage your existing workloads, traditional workloads equally effectively. And the result is EC2 Systems Manager. What is Amazon's EC2 System Manager? It's a set of capabilities that simplifies and automates a number of configuration and ongoing management tasks for you. Both, your workloads could be running Windows or Linux, or it could be running in EC2 or on your premises, or as a matter of fact, anywhere. As long as we can reach the server or your system, we will manage it for you. EC2 Systems Manager joins a growing set of AWS management tools that really help you simplify day-to-day management of your workloads and complete life cycle, starting from the infrastructure provisioning all the way to configuration management, monitoring and performance, governance, and resource optimization. And the way we build EC2 Systems Manager is to make sure that this tool or this service works with other AWS services so that you have end-to-end lifecycle management capability so that you can audit it, who did what, who did patching at what time. You can create alerts, things like those. All right, so before we get into the specifics of what the service is and the details, you might be wondering, why should I care? Why is it any different from all other tools that are out there? First of all, hybrid. Everything that I'm going to talk about today, it works equally well on your premises. You can bring your EC2 instances or your on-prem instances, or like I said, we don't care. Your instance could be running anywhere as long as we can reach it. The functionality is equally available. The second one is cross-platform. One tool to manage them all. Windows workload, Linux workload. We'll get into the detail how the constructs might be different, but you don't have to now manage two different sets of tooling for each environment. Everything that I talk about today is cross-platform with one exception on the patching. When we get there, we'll talk about it. But hybrid and cross-platform is true across the board, everything I'm going to talk about today. Scalable, I'm pretty sure you guys understand by now from my introduction. You could have 10 instances or you could have 10,000 instances. We don't care. We're building it for a scale, for as small as a scale that you have, or might be 10,000 VMs. The systems manager doesn't care, and it scales well with as you bring up new infrastructure. Security is the front and center of everything we do in AWS, and systems manager is no exception. The idea is that to give you management tools and enable you to adopt best security practices so that to manage your infrastructure across boundaries, like cloud boundaries, doesn't let you compromise on your security principles. Easy to write automation. Another goal to make sure that you guys can write automation in a way that doesn't require specialized skill set. You don't have to learn a new programming language. You don't have to hire for new skill set. You can write automation in a simple way, and we'll get into that as well. And last, reduced TCO. You don't have to manage 6 or 10 different applications that you're managing today, and we'll get to the pricing part towards the end of this presentation. All right, so server manager capabilities. Really 3 set of buckets. Configuration and administration. Set of capabilities that allow you to configure your instances at a scale and allow you to do remote administration. You want to run that shell script, you want to run that PowerShell script, how do you do that? Second, how do you track and update your infrastructure? How do you make sure which software is running? And then when the time is right, you want to patch them, how do you go about doing that? And then automation service. There we'll talk about how do you easily build and maintain Amazon machine images, AMIs as we call them. And in the middle, a shared set of features or capabilities that help you perform these administrative tasks or management tasks in a way that minimizes downtime and enables you to do it in a more secure way. Maintenance window will get to that. How do you do these tasks in a way that disruptive tasks in a defined window of time? And then parameter store is how do you store your critical assets such as connection string, passwords that you're going to use in the scripts or in your applications. All right, so I'm going to go through each of these capabilities, features, and hopefully not, but by the end of it, you might be confused because there's so much that I'm going to throw at you. Hopefully, we'll switch over to the demo mode, and I'll walk you through the console, and it'll hopefully make some sense. If you get confused, it's OK, and we'll come back and we'll try to address that confusion. All right, let's start with run command. So how do you want to run this PowerShell script or a shell script on your Linux computers? How do you do that? You want to do it on tens and thousands of different servers that are out there. And today you might have written your own scripts, your application, on how you do that, or you RDP or SSH into each individual node if you have small number of nodes, and you go in and make those changes, run those scripts, install those applications. So run command, what it does, it enables you to perform common administrative tasks remotely at scale. And how do you do that? You define your task in a simple JSON document. It's a simple JSON document. You don't have to write any programming or don't have to write any code in a programming language. You can build the document yourself, or you can leverage from the existing documents that we provide or the community provides. And then, in addition to just running the script or installing software, you are able to delegate access. You can control who runs which task at what time. You can go back and audit that. When was this task run? Who did that? And then receive notifications. Say if you start installing an application, you're going to get a notification that, hey, when it completes, just send me a notification so that I know that this task has completed. And what it does, it helps you improve your security posture. You no longer have to give RDP access or SSH access to, if you have several members of your team who are maintaining these systems, you can give them the documents or the task. They can run scripts. You can audit them, but they don't have to get on the box to do these things. All right, next up, state manager. How do you define and maintain a consistent configuration on all the instances that you bring up? Say you want to block a firewall port, or you want to block the entire firewall except port 80. How do you do that? How do you do that in a way that if somebody changes that, you can go address that, and it maintains that configuration state that you have defined? State manager enables you to do that. Similar to run command, you define your policy in a simple JSON document. It could be a script. It could be a script that is managing your application. It could be from the existing plugins that we provide. And what you do, you create that document, and state manager takes care of applying that policy and then maintaining that policy. And if it drifts, it'll go back and readdress that. If somebody opens a firewall port, based on the schedule that you control and define, it will go back and update that, and so that you remain compliant. And what it does, it helps you, retain the compliance across your entire enterprise. All right, moving on to automation service. What is automation service? It enables you to automate common tasks using simplified workflow-driven approach. And what we do, those tasks could be building and maintaining armies. And in fact, that's really the task that we are optimizing this. In this current release, we're optimizing automation service for building and maintaining Amazon machine images. You can start, you can easily define your workflow, again, in a JSON document. And I'm bringing up document over and over again. The next slide will talk about what is document. And so you can define your workflow in a document which has, here are the steps in my workflow. First step is bring up a new instance based on an army. Run all these tasks, install my application, and patch it. Here are the things that I want to do before I produce this golden or blessed image for my enterprise. And then the workflow finishes. You have a new army available in the portal. You go, and then that's where everybody, that's the army that everybody uses to spin up the new resources. It supports run command and Lambda function. Run command, we just talked about it. And Lambda function is you can also invoke Lambda functions in your workflows. And what it does, like I said, it eliminates the overhead of maintaining, as several of you call it, golden images, blessed images, whatever the terminology your organization uses. It simplifies the process of doing that. All right, so I have brought up document at least 3 times now, so we'll get into the demo, we'll talk about it, but I just wanted to give you a quick feel of what we're talking about. At the end of the day, it's just simple JSON document. For run command, you have a document type. This thing works. Command. For state manager, you define your policy in the policy-based document, and automation is really your workflow. And this is all in the browser. You can use your own JSON editor of your choice and then bring it here, or just use it in the console. And document is really the fundamental building block of what we do in Systems Manager, or what it does. Everything that you want to express, it's expressed through this simple format. All right, moving on. So we talked about run command, we talked about state manager, we talked about automation service. Let's talk about now parameter store and then maintenance window, just to see how you can run these automation tasks in a way that is secure and reduces the downtime. So first up, parameter store. How many times you have had trouble passing in domain admin credentials, connection strings in your config files, in your applications, in your scripts, because A, it's not secure. Even if you have figured out a mechanism to do it, how do you make sure that you can rotate the secrets in a way that doesn't bring down the application? You can, if there is a breach, you can easily roll back and put new credentials and let the application work the way it worked before. Parameter store addresses that. It provides you centralized management of IT assets, such as passwords, connection strings, which you can reference from the run command, state manager, or automation service. In fact, everything that we're talking about is available through APIs, console, and PowerShell. So you can really build on top of it. So if you want to just call the API, you can call the API to get the parameters for your applications. Through IAM integration, you have granular access control on who access which parameters, so that you just take away unwanted access. It's built on top of KMS, so you can build your own. You can bring your own keys if you don't want to use the keys that are AWS provided for your account. So you can bring your own keys and encrypt using your own keys. And like I said, it eliminates the ongoing maintenance challenge of for your critical enterprise assets, configuration assets. All right, let's talk about maintenance windows now. Really, at the end of the day, whenever you're doing a disruptive task, you want to do it in a way that doesn't break down the entire workload. Some of these tasks are repetitive, just like patching. You do it at a certain time. So how do you do that in a way that that reduces that the time, or reduces the chance of disrupting your entire workflow, entire workload by the task that you're performing? Maintenance window solves that for you. You can define one or more recurring windows of time in which it's okay to perform a particular action. So you control that action. So you define which instances or targets can this maintenance window target, literally, and what are the tasks that it can run. So you have all the control. You can say, here are the 10 servers that I want to patch in this maintenance window with this task. So you can define all that using maintenance window. It provides built-in integration with run command. So the task that you define in the current release, you can define run command-based tasks in your maintenance window, and that could be running PowerShell script, shell script, or anything that you want to do with your instances. Like I said, helps improve availability and reliability of your workloads by automatically performing these tasks. So just remember, this is a recurring window of time, so you don't have to sit there. It's just like if you have an Outlook calendar, it's recurring invite. You get the invite, and then you're just ready to go. All right, so moving on to software inventory service. It's a scalable way of collecting, querying, and auditing detailed software inventory information. You might have SQL Server installed, Java installed, any other type of software. You have OS settings, you have network settings. How do you across your enterprise build that visibility that if you have to go back and check what's running on your fleet, you can easily do that. An example, like I said, instance and OS details, network configuration, list of files, installed software and patches. And those are some of the things that we provide out of the box. You can always write your own custom inventory type and collect whatever you want. This is just something to get started, and some of the most common things that you look at, patches is generally a very common one that you want to look at, okay, which patch is missing or which patch is installed across my entire fleet. And when I say entire fleet, just to reinforce that, it's not just EC2 or it's just your entire fleet, wherever it is. And then with AWS integration, you have inventory provides you a point-in-time snapshot of what's running in your enterprise. But you can do AWS config recording to get a historical data. What was the license usage? Those type of scenarios are really simplified. Now you can go back and if you get audited and somebody asks you how many copies of this particular software you were running, you can pull that information up and easily do that audit. Another common scenario is zero-day vulnerabilities. Say you have a zero-day vulnerability, and say it's in Java, and you want to see, you want to quickly filter what's your exposure to this vulnerability. You can come in and type those queries and see the results. OK, these are the instances that I need to go patch, things like that. And this is, again, JSON document came up again. I told you that I was going to come up again and again, as it's one of the fundamental building blocks. So the way you express your policy is inventory collection policy it is expressed through state manager, just like any other policy. Just like you would configure your firewall settings, we also layer on top of state manager, so you can also express your collection as a policy and control that just like you would do with any other policy. All right, last, patch manager. And remember I told you at the beginning, everything that we're talking about is hybrid and cross-platform with one exception, and patch manager is that exception. In this current release, it helps you patch your Windows machines, the operating system patching. And the way you go about doing it, it lets you create patch baseline rules. You can say any critical patch that is there, I have to install it on the day it is released. I don't want to wait. But everything that's not critical, I want to wait. I want to let those patches bake for 7 days. Maybe I want to deploy it on my test environment. Or I just want to see if there's any issue with the patch before I roll it out. I might have to pull it back if there are any issues. So you want to wait for 7 days or 5 days, whatever that wait time is for you. So you can do that. You can define those policies, express those policies in form of patch baseline. And then you can schedule your instances or your servers in maintenance windows. So you could say that particular department, their servers get patched Tuesday night. HR servers get patched Wednesday night. So you can classify your servers into different groups, and then schedule them in different maintenance windows and let patching take care of it. And the good thing here is that you have control. Say you start rolling out since we're doing the automated patching, say there is some issue and patching started failing. So you can define how many instances you want to target at one given time and when to stop. So you could say, hey, here's my fleet of 100 instances. Go start patching it 5 at a time. Stop if 2 of them fail. So that if there are any issues and you are sleeping, when you wake up, it's not like your entire fleet is down. So you can go back, take a look, and see what caused those failures, resume the operation from there. Built-in compliance reporting allows you to look at the individual instance level or in individual system level patching state, how many are installed, how many are missing, or you can go all the way up to the fleet, how many instances in your fleet need attention. Benefit, I've already spoken to that, eliminates manual intervention and reduces time to deploy for critical updates, and especially for zero-day vulnerabilities, which are the most important ones. OK. So all of that we talked about, no charge, everything's free, except for the resources that you manage. And if you leverage integrating with other services, CloudTrail, CloudWatch, their pricing applies. But Systems Manager itself is free. And it's available starting today. In fact, as we're rolling it out, I think in some of the regions it's already live as I speak. And everything is available except for patch, which is coming very soon. I will just leave it at that. You get started, start playing with the product. By the time I think you're ready, just doing something serious with it, Patch Manager, you would have it, and you can go from there. OK. All right, so I think we're doing good on time. I will now switch to my demo. It's less about, we won't go very deep. We'll cover the breadth of the service. And then hopefully we'll have enough time at the end for Q&A. And I think I'm sure you guys would have questions there. OK. Let's see if I can make it work. My computer decided to take a nap, so waking it up. All right, good. Can you guys see it? Cool. All right, so Systems Manager is available from the EC2 console. Everybody has seen the EC2 console? Good, or do we need to start from the beginning? So hopefully everybody's familiar with the EC2 console. We are here down in the left navigation bar. So if you're at the bottom, you would see a set of services, System Manager services, run command is there, State Manager automation, and then a set of shared resources. So let's start with the manage instances. Manage instances view is anything that is under management through Systems Manager would show up as manage instance, whether it's your on-premises instance or an EC2 instance. I really wanted to have my on-premises instance show up, but that guy decided to fail on me before the demo. And nobody's there to fix it. So really, it's going to be, you have to trust me when I say it works with on-prem. But the demo, it's going to be on EC2, on EC2 instances. But everything is same for EC2 versus your on-premises instances, except for one additional step that you have to perform, and that is the activation step. So the way you go about it, you create a new activation. I have created a couple of activations. You provide the description, choose an IAM role, set the expiry date, provide the name. And when you do that, you get a activation ID and activation key. So when you are installing, by the way, everything that's for this thing, for System Manager to manage your services, it needs a lightweight agent to be installed on your instances. And that same agent, which is, by the way, open source, you can install on your on-premises instance. And as you're installing it, it'll ask you for the ID and key, and you specify that, and it'll start showing up in the managed instances. And the tagging and everything is similar to EC2 instances. You would be able to tag it and manage that. So OK, so once we talked about managed instance, we talked about the how do you activate them. Let's play with some inventory data. So I have already, some of the instances that are provisioned, I've already configured the inventory. They're collecting the inventory data. Let's just say I want to get a list of instances that have this one particular ID. Let me just say that KB, I have the ID. Oops. Did I? Oh. Let's start all over. I typed it incorrectly.
While you're doing that, does this apply to customer-created armies?
We'll talk about armies just in a bit. Armies, if you're bringing up an instance using a custom army, it has an agent installed. It's no different than any other thing we're talking about. Okay? All right, let me make sure I type it correctly this time. KB31. All right, there you go. So it filtered down the entire universe of my instances to the KB that, to the instances that have this KB. Let's just say I wanted to get to, my search criteria is that I want to find all SQL servers that have this particular KB, because I have learned that if you have this KB installed, there is some funkiness with SQL Server. So maybe that's something that you're finding. So what you do, OK, so you filter it down even further. Say, I'm just going to pick everything that starts with SQL, right? So now your universe is now filtered to just the SQL instances that have this KB installed. So think of this, this is really a small demo, but you can have all sorts of different software installed. You might have Java installed all these instances, and then there's a vulnerability in JDK that you want to filter out. OK, which one of these guys that you want to go patch or take further action? So you come in, you type you can filter it and get the data that you want. But how do you set it up the inventory? Let's just talk about that. As I mentioned in my presentation, inventory is also layered on State Manager that we talked about. Lets you express policies, your configuration policies. You come in on the manage instances, set up inventory. we'll talk about the documents just in a bit. There's a pre-defined document that we have created that collects inventory from the managed instances. You can define your instances by IDs or by tags. So if you decide to pick a tag, then you no longer have to worry about adding a new instance ID every time you change something. As long as your instance is tagged properly, it comes online, and inventory picks it up, and it starts collecting the data. If you want to pick instances, there you go. You can pick and choose. I have set up inventory for data collection for all of them. And by the way, so you can define schedule. It could be every 30 minutes. It could be every hour, or once in a week, whatever the right frequency is. You don't want to do it. You want to do it at the time when the workload, there's not peak load. You can schedule that. And you can pick and choose which type of inventory data that you want to collect, applications, AWS components, stuff like that. And custom inventory, if you go to the demo tomorrow, I'll have a pointer to the session. That session would go into detail of what the inventory service is, how can you go about writing your or recording your own inventory data and just dump it in the same store where every information is available. All right, so once you do that, let me take out the filters. Let me get back to my universe. So I had already done that. I had already configured the collection of inventory data from these instances. It shows up here. You can filter the data based on per instance, or you can go all the way up here and do it across your fleet. Here this will be really filtered to your instance, and you might have scenarios like you want to see a particular version of if a particular version of Python is installed or Java, and you can do it on a particular instance. The instance, but just you want to take a look. So let's talk about associations. Association is a concept in the State Manager service. And what it does, in State Manager, what you do, you write a policy in a document, and you associate with a set of instances. And just like anything else, just like you would configure your firewall, inventory is also a policy. So when I went through this setup inventory step, I selected the instances, I selected which one to enable. When I finished it, what it did, it created a State Manager association for me. If you have, if there's a session tomorrow, again, I'll give you a pointer. You'll go there. You'll learn how to go deep into this stuff. But that policy could be your blocking the firewall or configuring the anti-malware definitions in a certain way. All that stuff, as you express that, would show up here, just like the inventory policy does. It will give you the status of that association, whether it succeeded. Maybe you set it, run it after every 4 hours. You come back, it tells you, hey, the last run was successful, or it was a failure, and then you go deep into that. Okay, what was the failure, and you can investigate from there on. So that's the quick inventory and State Manager intro. Let's talk about the maintenance window run command. Maintenance window, as I mentioned, it's one of the things where you can come in and define that window of time where a disruptive operation can take place. Simple, you start with creating a maintenance window. You can name it. Let's call it demo. You can go about using maintenance window in 2 ways. Either you make sure that everything that's targeted in a maintenance window requires a registration, because you want it to be a very controlled process. People come in. Maybe you're using it across multiple departments. Maintenance window. So you might create a maintenance window, give each department permissions to access that maintenance window, and send them an email that, hey, I've created these 5 maintenance windows. Bring your instances, register them in the maintenance window, and I'll schedule patching on them, or I'll schedule whatever your administrative operation is. So that's one way of going about it. Or you can say, it's fine, it's just a window of time, it's like a recurring window of time. You can schedule whatever instance, or I can schedule whatever instance I want to run, and you can have unregistered target. You can specify schedule builder. It's similar to inventory and some of the other service you would see. You have a schedule, you express your schedule, you can express your schedule in simple terms, or you can write advanced cron expressions if you really want to have a more control over when the maintenance window occurs. And you define, it's got a duration is 4 hours. And by the way, before the end of the window, 1 hour before, stop scheduling tasks. because you want everything to finish up in that maintenance window in that duration of time. And those numbers might vary depending on your use cases. If you're doing patching, you might need more time, but if you're just doing some simple collecting information, that doesn't have to be that long a cutoff time. So you create maintenance window. Here it's created. The next step is you go in and register your targets. And the targets, you could register your targets based on tags. It could be based on IDs. Let me do it, I'm the owner of these instances that I'm registering, and let me call it my environment as demo. It could be dev test. It could be any tag that you have. So what it does, now all my servers which is essentially all the servers you saw on managed instance, they all have this tag environment as demo. So all of them are now registered in the maintenance window. So now I'm going to go schedule a task. And that's where you can pick from any existing run command, any document that we have provided, or you can go author your own document to call, do whatever. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pick, let me do shell script. I'm going to execute a shell script, define the priority of these tasks, pick the, all right, so let's see if this thing goes off. I could test, all right? So define the role that I want to use. I have already created a role that this task would use to run whatever task we are putting in the document. Execute on, so that's where the control that we were talking about. You define how many instances, we call it velocity control. You say, go run it on one server at a time, or you can run it on all of them, one at a time, and stop if there are, say, 3. I'm going to put in a high number because I selected all my servers, which has the Windows servers as well. So I'm not sure what the behavior is going to be, so I'm going to put a high number so that if it fails, at least we can see the output, right? So there you go. You registered the task. You have registered the targets. Task is now registered. When the time is right, when the maintenance window comes due, it will wake up. It'll pick up the task. It'll run the task for you. And it'll produce the output in the history tab. I already have a maintenance window that I created just before the demo. And what it's doing, it's just collecting some data from the event logs from some of the Windows machines and just showing me top 10 entries. So I go to history, and I go all the way down. Just let me do this. All right. So I pick the last run, which was at 4:30, and I say, okay, all the tasks passed. Let me go deep into whatever the tasks, the task 1 passed. What were the things that were done in that task? So what we're essentially doing, I was running a run command task in the maintenance window. So let me take a look at that output of that run command. It ran for this particular task, I was running on 2 servers. So I pick one and look at the output. There you go. So this is the output from a PowerShell script that was collecting some event log information. And this is really, this is a toy problem that I'm showing you guys. You can leverage that through CLI, API, or you can go build advanced solutions on top of this platform, which are specific to your needs. You want to do very specific things. The good thing is now you no longer have to worry about the scale. You no longer have to worry about all those things that we have already solved here. Or if your needs are relatively simple, you can even just keep using the browser console and run your task, take a look at the output. If it's a failure, you'll get the failure information. You go about troubleshooting that. So really, you get all the options. Depending on your scenario or how advanced or basic your usage is, you can pick from the selection. All right, so I'm going to go back. So that's really maintenance window or run command. In this particular demo, I covered both. There's one thing that I wanted to cover, or I think I would still talk about it, but we're still rolling out the SDK. So I won't be able to show you the end-to-end of that demo, which is the parameter store integration. Because that's, we have heard from you that that's one of the most painful point. How do you manage those connection strings or secrets? So I won't be able to show you the secured string part because as the new SDK is rolled out, it will be available hopefully tonight or anytime soon or maybe already done by now. What I'm just going to show you is a simple parameter that I created. Before I talk about it, let's just step back. Let's see, if you wanted to create parameter, secure parameter, you have three options. It could be a string, just like a dictionary key value pair, string list, or you could pick secured string, and that's where remember we talked about encryption, KMS, and bringing your own key. If you have a secured string, you can create it here, and you can, whatever your secret is, you could say super secret stuff, and that's your parameter. And you can refer that into application. While I won't be able to show you this in action, I'll show you the script that does exactly what I was going to do once the deployment and rollout is complete. So secure string, this is another parameter that I created, the product name, sorry. It's a simple string. It just shows you the name of the product, Amazon EC2 Systems Manager. So what are we going to do? We're going to just I'm just going to show you how to get that information either through run command, and once I show you through run command, I'll show you through how you can obtain it through a PowerShell script. So maybe your need is advanced, you're doing something else. All you want is just a parameter from the parameter store. So let's start with a simple case. By the way, I think we have time. We're doing fine. So I know it's not a typical format. Let's try to, if this stuff is confusing, because I know I'm throwing 7 services at you, and this can be confusing. And hopefully, I'm taking the hit for my fellow presenters who are going to go deep tomorrow, and they hopefully have the intro, the basis set already. But you can, if it's a simple question, you can ask, and I'll answer, and we'll move on. But if it's more involved, then I'll have to ask you to stop, and then we'll do it afterwards. Okay?
Does it support cross-account registration?
We'll get to that. Good question. So in the current release, yes, you can do it through the activation process that I mentioned, but it's not, in the first release, it's per account based, per account per region, but that's something that we are, from my answer, we are aware of this limitation. We know that this is something that has to be addressed going forward. Is it related to parameter store? Because my question, my ask was if it's related to the thing that I was doing. For the general questions, we'll come back. All right, so PowerShell script. Let's pick a Windows instance. Let's pick this guy. All I really want to run, I just want to show you how you can obtain the parameters. So I'm going to say SSM product name. So that's really the name of the parameters. You see, I'm not typing in the name of the product, nothing. I just put in my parameter store. I'm referring it in my PowerShell script. And that's it. And this time I'm running a run command outside maintenance window. So last demo was, I showed you how you can schedule a run command within a maintenance window and on a recurring schedule. This was one-off, more ad hoc thing just to show you. And that's really, that hopefully aligns how you do some of the things. There are things that you do every week, every day, and those are the things that you can schedule in a maintenance window. But there are things that came up just one-off. You wanted to just install this new software that you don't do it once. You go to run command, put in that your task, and it'll just go run in all the instances. So this one, let's take a look at the output. So Amazon EC2 Systems Manager. So that was the name that I had put in, and there you go. So all you did in your script, instead of saying this is my string, you said Amazon EC2 Systems Manager. And now I talked about the secure string. I just wanted to show you how it would work if you were using it in your application. Maybe it's a PowerShell script. So what you're essentially doing, you're calling this parameter get SSM parameters, name secure param, and this is really the name of your parameter. It will give you the value, and there you go. You can take that value and use it for whatever purposes you wanted to use. So you no longer have to put it in config files, no longer have to put it in anywhere. It's just one place. Tomorrow you want to delete it, just delete it, create a new one, update it, all those things. All right, so that's that. And let's do a quick demo of building and maintaining armies through automation service. Shall we? All right, let's do that. So far, let's talk about documents. I think it's a good time to talk about documents because they have come up so many times. Everything that we have done so far, just to repeat myself, it's all based on these simple JSON documents that either you leverage the ones that we have provided or you have built your own. For automation service, it's no exception. It's a JSON document at the end of the day. There are 3 types of document. Command is for run command. Policies for your state manager policies, state firewall, inventory collection, all that information that defines the policies that you want to enforce. And the automation is really the workflow, which is leveraged by automation service. And let's take a look at one of the documents that I have created just for the automation service. And remember, just to refresh your memory, automation service really simplifies building and maintaining Army Amazon machine images for you. And what I'm going to show you, it's a document. Let's just pick at that. Let me increase that. All right, can you guys see it? OK. All right, so simple JSON document. I'll walk you through it quickly. Description, the role that you need to have to get started. What are the parameters for this dog? Source army. You could pick any source, any army from the one that we produce. What's the name of the target army? What are the steps? Here are the main steps of your workflow. Name, start instance. I'm going to start an instance with this source army. What I'm going to do, I'm going to install missing Windows Update. This is a task. There's a document. Again, another document that I'm calling in the workflow. You can invoke lambda function if that's your scenario. I'm going to update my instances. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to create an image from that from the run that I had, and really I'm going to terminate the instance, and that's about it. So starting with a raw army or the army that we produced, you take it. In this particular example, I just installing the missing updates, but you can imagine you can install all sorts of different things. You can use the documents to define your own software, your own agents, configure stuff, and produce the output. So I'm not going to update it, and let's just quickly run through it. It's going to take a while, so I'll kick off the automation workflow. Then we'll look at the one that I did before coming to this session. This is the document. This is the document of execution automation type. I pick the version that I want to run, and you can have multiple versions. Here's a source army. Here's the name of my patched army, and I'm putting it's the date time, right? There you go. All right, so in progress. So now I can sit back and watch as systems manager go through my automation steps. Here are all the steps that I had defined in my workflow. It's in progress. The first step is it's creating an EC2 instance. Then it's going to install all missing patches. It's going to stop the instance, create the image, and all that fun stuff. You can take a look at the last run that I did. All the steps succeeded. You can take a look at the output of each step. Instance terminated. Let's take a look at what happened to the run command. Here are all the patches that were installed. Important updates 2, critical 1, all the summary right from one console, one experience. And then once everything is done, your army is going to show up here. So the ones that I ran before just coming to this session. And the one that we triggered, it should be ready. Since Windows updates generally take longer, otherwise we could have finished by now. So that's really it. That's what I wanted to cover. Leaves us a good 10 minutes to go through Q&A. So I'll switch. Actually, before we get to Q&A, just wanted to give you a pointer to the next sessions that you should be going to. In summary, I think I've repeated them, enough many times. Don't have to go through this slide. Hybrid, cross-platform, scalable. Doesn't matter if you're managing 10 instances, 10,000, 100,000. it just scales secure. I've talked about how it helps you adopt best security practices. Easy to write automation, no Python, Ruby programming knowledge required. Express your task if you have scripts, you can bring it, just express it in JSON, and you're ready to go. And reduce TCO. No longer have to manage the stuff, deploy multiple of these, no longer have to pay for some of the things that you should just, that's a basic systems management. And next steps, you can go search for EC2 Amazon EC2 Systems Manager, learn more about it. We'd love to hear your feedback. Important stuff. There are 2 sessions tomorrow. First one is, OK, I can take a look here. Inventory, patching, and system images for your hybrid cloud. That will go through some of the things that I talked about, filtering. Patching, there's going to be in this particular presentation, I didn't go through patching because this is stuff that's still in works. It's coming soon. But in that particular session, we're going to talk about it. We're going to show you some of the early stuff so that you have a good sense of what are the patch baselines, how this compliance stuff works. So it will be a good one to go. And the second one is it'll go into the detail of state manager, run command. You'll hear some of the things that are talked about again, but it'll be in much more detail. Complete evaluations. All right, now we